In golf, degrees, they matter. They matter a lot. This is especially true when it comes to putting. The putter face is controlled above all else by our hands, through the grip. That's the only physical connection we have to the club itself. And each hand does a slightly different job. As you start your downstroke, one hand subtly starts pushing away from the target, while the other starts pushing towards it. But what most people don't know is that the shape of the grip itself can affect this too, and it can affect it in a big way. Traditionally, grips are shaped like this. They're tapered, which means they're bigger on the top and they're smaller on the bottom. That bigger section can stabilize the top hand, but that smaller section can activate the small muscles in the wrists and fingers of the lower hand. This kind of putting error is actually pretty common with amateurs. You can see it right here, and Arnold Palmer even talked about struggling with it in his own stroke too. Other grips look like this. They're non-tapered, which means they're the same size everywhere and usually bigger in overall size. Non-tapered grips fueled the jumbo grip craze that took off in recent years, and these bigger, non-tapered grips are designed to lock both wrists in place during the stroke. It works for some golfers, but others say it costs them feel, which makes sense, because when you look at some of the best putters of all time, there's a little give in their wrists. They use them, just not too much. Traditionally, these were the only options for golfers. Take your pick. But recently, Golf Pride has put an exciting third option on the table. It's called the reverse taper, smaller on the top and fatter on the bottom, like this. And that's why I'm so genuinely excited about it, because Golf Pride, the same company that's been reinventing the grip game since it first developed the slip-on grip in 1953, they just invented something really cool. In some ways, they flipped the design of the grip itself on its head, something that is making one of the most underrated parts of the golf club into one of the most innovative. This is a subject that's pretty near and dear to my heart because I have a long and bad history of pulling putts. That's why I needed to go check it out for myself. So I did. I flew down to see Bruce Miller of Golf Pride and learn more about the reverse taper technology. So I guess, what did day one in the Golf Pride lab look like when you started playing around with the idea of reverse taper technology?
You know, a couple main misses that golfers have. They either completely pull the putt, the lower hand is too active, it's basically turning over the stroke, or they completely wipe the putt, where they can't return that lower hand to get the face to square. Those are the two main issues. And that's exactly what this reverse taper technology, getting larger from end cap to mouth, is addressing. How can you stabilize that lower hand to make it easier for the player to return that face back to square when they're putting?
Yeah, a bit like you tailor a suit to somebody's specific body. In some ways, you're tailoring the grip to their hands and the way they move them during the stroke. In many ways, the simplest way to think about squaring up the putter face is to think about what both of your hands are doing during your putting stroke. It's a tricky balance to find at times, so Golf Pride, they developed all these shapes to the reverse taper grip to help dial it in. 3 shapes in 2 different sizes, each variation designed to fit every golfer's unique tendencies.
Players have been sucked up this tailpipe of believing to putt better they need to remove their hands from the stroke. We think it's the opposite at Golf Pride. The player needs to optimize the performance of each hand to putt better.
Putting ultimately is a strange skill. One that requires touch and feel, imagination and creativity. But putting is also a science. The shape of the putter grip you're using is a small and often overlooked detail. So take a closer look at yours. Start experimenting. Think outside the box. You may be surprised at what you find.